Hey, thanks, folks. Thanks for joining us today. So I'm very much excited to actually talk about a Cisco ISE new split upgrade, which is a new one, and I'm gonna replace the old split upgrade method. And my name is Pavan Gupta. I'm a technical marketing engineer. So this is what the agenda is gonna be. We're gonna cover what are the available 3.x versions and what are the version to version upgrade support available and what exactly the upgrade journey, irrespective of what is the 3.x version that you're talking about, what is the general upgrade journey that you need to take care. And we're going to concentrate more on the GUI upgrade method in this webinar rather than covering all the upgrade methods available. So because we are talking about a new split upgrade method, obviously, it brings me to recap the old split upgrade method. I'm going to give you an overview of it, and I'm going to go a demonstrator as well. And then after, we're going to go through what exactly the new split upgrade demonstration and what are the advantages of a new split upgrade over old split upgrade. With that, let's talk about ISE releases at a glance. So over a period of time, if you look at the ISE versions released over a period of time, all these 2.x versions and even 3.0 introduced in September 2020, they are actually called end of life. Now, 3.1 is currently the suggested release, and 3.2 is the latest one, whereas 3.3 is going to be releasing soon in July 2023. Now, I wanted to actually remind you about the ISE 2.7 and ISE 3.0. Most of you, as part of our earlier webinars, we got to know that still there are people who are making use of a 2.7 and 3.0 versions. So for them, I want to actually make you a notice. The end of software maintenance coming up for 2.7 in September 2023. So you got to actually move to the latest versions. That's what the intent of a year. And 3.0, starting from July 13th and then next week, obviously, it's coming into the software maintenance. What does it mean? From that date onwards, Cisco is going to only publish the security vulnerabilities and the Sev1 issues, if at all we have it on the 3.0. With that said, if you are there on 2.7 and 3.0, obviously you got to actually move to the latest versions. That's what the main intent is over here. Now let's talk about the 3.x versions. We already talked about it, and let's understand what are those 3.x versions available today. Of course, 3.3 is coming up in July, and 3.0 is already called end of life. Currently, it's 3.1 is a suggested release. Soon, 3.2 is going to become a suggested release. We have met all the requirements in order to announce the 3.2 as a suggested release. So wait for that announcement so that if at all you're looking for an upgrade, you better upgrade to 3.2 as it is going to be as suggested release. Now, any 3.x versions, if you're there on earlier versions, in order to come down to the latest versions, here is the upgrade journey that is supposed to be followed. This is almost aligning to the upgrade journey, what was documented in the ISE. So even if you take a 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, all the upgrade documentation is going to be talking about this upgrade journey. This is applicable to all the 3.x versions. So let's talk about individual aspects in detail. The first and foremost thing, let's talk about upgrade path, choosing your upgrade path. We need to understand what are the versions to versions upgrade support so that you can actually better take a decision at this point of time. If you're there on 2.4, 2.6, 2.7, you can come down to ISE 3.0. Of course, 3.0 is already end of life. 2.6, 2.7, 3.0, you can upgrade them to the 3.1 version. Whereas 273031, you can upgrade to 3.2, which is going to become a suggested release soon. And if you wanted to upgrade your deployment to 3.3, which is going to be released soon, you can upgrade 3031 to 303132 to 3.3. Now, let's talk about, once after we talked about actually the version to version upgrade support, let's talk about the second aspect, the prepare. preparing your system for upgrade. Before even you go for an upgrade, there are a bunch of checklists which you're supposed to actually follow. Most of them are kind of a manual in nature. You're supposed to run URT bundle. You're supposed to change the VMware settings, firewall, upgrade your virtual machine, verify that NTPs are reachable, so on and so forth. All these are supposed to be kind of a checklist which you're supposed to follow before even you upgrade your deployment. Wait a minute. Let me tell you one thing. Some of these pre-checks, some of these checks are going to be performed as part of the pre-checks in the new split upgrade, which I'm going to be talking in later sections. Now, let's talk about the third aspect, the upgrading your deployment. What are the upgrade methods available for me? There are three upgrade methods available: backup and restore, GUI, and CLI. At a high level, what exactly the backup and restore method is, it's kind of actually making a parallel deployment to your existing environment, taking the backup of your existing configuration and restoring the configuration onto the new deployment so that you can build the parallel deployment and slowly move your traffic from the old deployment to the new deployment. That's kind of actually backup and restore method is. So at any point of time, you have an advantage. If it also something goes wrong with the new deployment, you can always fall back to the old deployment is what the advantage it's going to bring. But however, the GUI is our most intuitive. It's easy with the pre-check. So you can, if the GUI was providing you intuitive enough to provide the upgrade, obviously I'm going to follow the GUI upgrade. The last one, the least preferred one, is a CLI, where individual nodes are going to be upgraded manually by going to the CLI and upgrading them. At a high level, you might be asking me a question now, which upgrade method should I choose or should you choose? Well, there is no straight answer over here. It depends on whether you wanted to go with a GUI, CLI, backup, and restore. In order to help you with that, I came up with these aspects. For example, the GUI is intuitive enough and provides less administration, fewer manual interventions required. However, it might be taking more time when you are upgrading from an older deployment to the newer deployment. That's one of the aspects that we have considered in the new split upgrade, and we will overcome it. Backup and restore versus GUI, obviously, it's going to take very much a good time. I mean, backup and restore is going to take a lesser time, whereas a GUI is going to take longer time. But we have addressed that problem in the new split upgrade process, which I'm going to talk in detail later sections. The CLI is the less preferred. That's the reason I have highlighted with that red color or whatever color it is. Now, let's not concentrate on all the upgrade methods. Let's talk about the GUI upgrade methods only. And that too, let's talk about the split and the new split upgrade upgrade methods. At a high level, the split upgrade method is kind of a sequential process to upgrade your deployment one by one. It takes longer time than the full upgrade method. The full upgrade method is a kind of a two-step process where the PAN gets upgraded first, and then rest of the nodes are going to get upgraded. Because the rest of the nodes are getting upgraded in parallel, obviously there is a downtime. So most of you might not be preferring the full upgrade method because it was giving you the downtime. But whereas the split upgrade method is taking longer time, which we have addressed in the new split upgrade method, the new split upgrade method can be done in the batches, and which I'm going to actually explain you in detail later sections. It has more stability than the split upgrade. It is going to upgrade your deployment in lesser time when compared with the old split upgrade method. It has the pre-checks which avoids you to run the URT. That is a bigger pain that we were trying to avoid in the new split upgrade method. So let's forget about let's talk about a split and new split. However, if you ever wonder what exactly the full and old split upgrade method were in detail, we have done one webinar during the September 2021 timeframe. Go to YouTube ISE channel, cs.co/ISE-videos. look for the upgrading your deployment. You're gonna find full and a new split upgrade full and a old split upgrade method in detail explained over there. Let's talk about the GUI upgrade method support. So in general, these 2.62730 can be upgraded to 3.1 using this full and a split upgrade. 273031 can be upgraded to 3.2 using split and full. 303132 can be upgraded to split and full, but we have to be careful in which patch the full upgrade support was introduced. So especially full upgrade method was supported from a specific patches. These are the patches that you have to actually make a note of it. 26P10 onwards, your GUI starts to show up a full upgrade method. 27P4, 30P3 onwards. Similarly, 27P4, 30P3, 31, you can come down. And when it comes to the split upgrade, old split upgrade method, irrespective of what exactly this patches that you are having in your environment, you can go for a split upgrade method. So remember the last one, the 3.2, you can come down to the split, you can come down to 3.3. The new split upgrade method is being introduced in from 3.2P3 onwards. So 3.2P3 onwards, the new split upgrade method is supported. The old split upgrade method is going to be replaced with the new one. So remember this one. If you are there in 3.2, 3.2P1, 3.2P2, you're going to still have the split upgrade method. Starting from P3 onwards, you're going to have the new split upgrade method, which was replacing the old one. So let's talk about what exactly the new and old split upgrade method. Before I explain you about a new split upgrade method, let's try to understand what was the old split upgrade method. Let's do a recap over there. So considering an environment having a 6-node, I just took as an example, a 6-node deployment, having a PPAN, SPAN, primary MNT, SMNT, PSN1, PSN2, high availability side. I've covered all the personas. If at all you were trying to upgrade this kind of a deployment, 6-node deployment to any 3.x versions that was supported, explained in earlier sections, you can come down to the latest versions by doing a split upgrade. So the first and foremost thing as part of the old split upgrade method is to upgrade the SPAN. So the SPAN gets upgraded and it becomes a PPAN, and the primary MNT is going to be enabled temporarily. And then you're going to choose the primary MNT for the next sequence, the PSNs. You got to choose the PSNs in a strategic way so that you have always one or more PSNs available in the older deployment, so that you don't have a disruption for the endpoint services. So that's where you got to choose the PSN strategically, locations wise, high availability wise, or load balancers wise. You got to actually choose those PSNs. Now, PSN2 can be taken as the fourth sequence, as part of fourth sequence, and can be upgraded because the PSN was available and is already upgraded to the latest version. Now, as part of a fifth sequence, you can upgrade your secondary MNT. And as part of your last sequence, you can upgrade your PPAN, which becomes your SPAN in the new deployment. Lastly, you might have to actually flip the SPAN and a PPAN to become the exact persona of what you were having in earlier deployment. So if you look at closely, it's a sequential one. We were doing node by node or selecting the nodes. At least the SPAN has to be the first one. And then after we were moving the MNTs, and then we were moving the PSNs. So for each and every sequence, it's going to take a 240 minutes maximum. And as and when the number of sequences increases, obviously it's going to increase the time taken for your entire deployment to be upgraded. So that's the overall old split upgrade processes. So let's do a demonstration over it. Now I'm logging into one of the ISE older versions. I logged into it. let's review what was the version that I'm having. So I'm having a 2.6 patch 9, which I'm going to be upgrading to the latest deployment. So let's look at the deployment too. If you look at it, I have a 5 nodes over here, PPAN, SPAN, primary MNT, secondary MNT, PSN. Of course, I should have added one more PSN for the demonstration purpose, but however, we have to look from the process standpoint. I've kept my upgrade bundle in one of the repository called upgrade repository, and I'm going to go to the upgrade page. Before even you go for an upgrade, these are the bunch of checklists which ISE was asking me to go through. After going through taking the backup, reviewing the software, reviewing the credentials, of taking care of operational data purge, you got to actually perform the health checks as well. So some of them are basically manual in nature. And by verifying the health check, you are basically validating how is your deployment functioning at this point of time. If any one of the check was failing, that means obviously you cannot even move down to the upgrade. That's the main intent. So once all the health checks are passed, you can go for an upgrade. So you're going to actually select the nodes and select the repository where I kept my upgrade bundle. Select the upgrade bundle, confirm it, so that it gets downloaded to all the nodes. So it's basically I'm trying to upgrade my system from 2.6 to 3.1. That's the upgrade bundle I've chosen. And it starts to download from the upgrade repository that you have configured. And it extracts it and it validates whether it is ready to go or not. Then now, in this step, you're going to choose your nodes in sequence. First, you got to choose the SPAN, which becomes the PPAN and automatically enables the MNT temporarily. As part of your second sequence, you can go with the primary MNT, which is going to disable the temporary MNT, which was enabled as part of your SPAN, which is your PPAN in the new deployment. Then you got to choose the PSN as part of this third sequence. Fourth, as part of fourth sequence, I'm choosing secondary MNT. And as part of a last sequence, I'm going to be choosing the last, but not the least one, which is my primary admin, which is going to become my SPAN in the new deployment. So once I've chosen that, it's going to give me how much time it's going to take for me to upgrade this entire 5-node deployment of 1200 minutes. And look at that. And once I confirm it, it's going to actually start upgrading sequentially. So that's how it's going to actually go for an upgrade. Now, are there any pre-checks possible? Do I have a PAN availability, platform checks, and so on and so forth? No. It's basically going ahead and upgrading the deployment. So basically, if at all it was failing in one of the check, it's going to fail during the upgrade process. So slowly, sequentially, one node after other, it's going to get upgraded and it becomes part of your deployment. And that's the gist of it. Now, what is the pain behind all this? It's basically you don't have a pre-checks. You don't have a validation prior to upgrading your deployment. You got to do it everything manually. The URT bundle, you got to run it. You got to actually take care of running all the health checks and the checklist that was provided in the UI. And then after only you can go for an upgrade is what we were trying to say in earlier old split upgrade method. But in new split upgrade method, we have eliminated some of the capability, some of these manual interventions, which will help you to reduce and have more stability and improve the operations capability too. So let's talk about the new split upgrade. The new split upgrade is kind of a wizard. It starts with the step 1, where you're going to have the welcome page. This is kind of actually explaining you how your ISE is going to be ISE deployment is going to be upgraded to the latest versions. And then the second step is kind of a checklist. Some of the checklists here also are kind of a manual in nature, taking a configuration backup. Yes, we do have a pre-check available for you to say whether you have taken the backup or not, but how latest it is, That is what you need to take care. So operational and configuration backup, if at all it is not latest one, you got to actually take the latest backup is what we were trying to say. Take the backup of system logs, certificates, and making a note of your Active Directory, and take care of the data purge. You don't have to run the health checks over here. You don't have to actually run the URT as well. Now, as part of your third step in the wizard, you got to actually select the nodes in iterations. What is exactly these iterations? These iterations I'm going to say as batches. So you can, if you have a deployment of a 20 nodes, you can actually upgrade your 20 node deployment in batches as well. So that's what the iterations mean by mean in the third point over here. So once after selecting the nodes as part of your iterations, then they're gonna go through the prepare to upgrade. Those are kind of actually pre-checks. So they're gonna go through the bunch of a checklist, which we have eliminated most of the checklist earlier that were mentioned as part of your upgrade. Now, as part of a fifth point, you're gonna go for a staging where you're gonna actually copy all the configuration DB that was generated as part of your prepare to upgrade earlier step, and we're going to copy it to the each and individual nodes. So as part of a sixth step, this is where you are really upgrading the nodes. Till this fifth step, there is no disruption to the services. So once after you have done the upgrade of the nodes, then it will give you a summary, which you have to repeat it. Once after this, you have to repeat it again for this other iterations. That's at a high level, the new split upgrade processes. Let's talk about in detail each point one by one. Let's not worry about actually first point and second point. Let's start with the third point, a new split upgrade, each step in detail. So selecting the nodes for iterations. Consider we have a lot of permutation combinations to start with, but I'm taking one example, having a 6 node in my deployment. 3.2 P3 onwards is what actually new split upgrade is supported. So I have a new 3.2 P3 with a 6 node in the deployment, PPAN, SPAN, PMNT, SMNT, PSN1, PSN2, and I'm trying to upgrade them. So when you're trying to upgrade them, as part of the third step in the wizard, you're supposed to select the nodes for you to upgrade. How do you select the nodes? You can probably select the nodes in 2 iterations, that means 2 batches, making a SPAN, SMNT, PSN2 in one batch, PPAN, primary MNT, and a PSN1 in another batch. So that while the first batch is getting upgraded, the second batch was available so that your endpoint services are not disrupted. You can even go with the 4 iterations where you're trying to upgrade your deployment, PAN and MNTs in one go and a PSNs in another go. You can even actually upgrade them in 6 iterations to individual nodes, which is going to make no difference to the earlier split upgrade, but it is possible. So if you have more number of nodes, even multiple iterations, more number of iterations are also possible. So you can select the nodes in batches in order for you to upgrade. One thing to keep in mind, SPAN has to be upgraded first in place. Now, consider that same situation. I've selected those 6 nodes. I'm talking about only one scenario where I'm trying to upgrade this 6 node deployment in 2 batches, iteration 1 and iteration 2. In iteration 1, I'm having SPAN, SMNT, PSN2. In iteration 2, I'm having a PPAN, primary MNT, PSN1. So at a high level, this is what we are trying to achieve. If you're having this 6 node deployment, if you wanted to come down to 3.3 and above, start upgrading SPAN, SMNT, PSN2 in first iteration, and PPAN, PMNT, and PSN1 in the next iteration. So we are doing it in 2 batches. This is the main difference when you look at older split upgrade versus new split upgrade. Now let's start with selecting the nodes in the iterations, 2 batches. And let's start with iteration 1. the moment you select the nodes as part of your iterations, the next step is to go through the pre-checks as part of your prepare for upgrade in the total upgrading journey. Prepare for upgrade is kind of actually checklist that you're supposed to follow any 3.x version upgrade journey. Prepare for upgrade is kind of actually a checklist. Those pre-checks were kind of manual in nature earlier. Now these pre-checks now I'm talking about is already taken care as part of your upgrade. So at a high level, these are the pre-checks. It's going to validate the repository. It's going to download all the upgrade bundle to each and every node. It's going to validate whether you have enough RAM available on nodes, and if at all you are trying to upgrade as well as you are trying to apply the patch, that patch can be downloaded to individual nodes as well. It's going to validate whether pan failover was there, enabled. If at all it is there, it's going to automatically take in care by disabling it during the upgrade process automatically. It's going to verify whether you are running any scheduled backup, which is going to hamper the upgrade deployment. So it's going to validate whether you are running any scheduled backup. It will automatically mention that you are running a scheduled backup check. So config backup check is kind of taking care of whether you have taken recently the configuration and operational DB backup. The configuration data upgrade is kind of taking the upgrade, taking your DB in existing version, running the migration tool on it so that it can come down to the latest version. So that's where it's going to generate the upgrade DB bundle. And it's going to validate the service and processes if at all some of them are failing or all of them are running in your deployment. Not only that, these are some of other pre-checks that it's going to validate. It's going to validate NTP, so on and so forth. Now the question comes up, are these pre-checks are going to be validated on each and every node? No, there are checks. Some of the checks are actually applicable on all the nodes, like I'm highlighting over here. But some of the checks are actually done on the pan only, something like pan failover validation. I can do it only on the pan. I don't have to worry about the other nodes. I can do a scheduled backup check on the pan itself, whether you have enabled the scheduled backup or not. So these are the checks which are performed on the pan. The rest of them are basically applicable to all the nodes. So every check, now you might be wondering, what if any pre-check gets failed during the upgrade or during this fourth step itself? Any check which getting validated during the prepare for upgrade one, it might be successful or it might give you a warning, it might give you a failure. In case of warning and failure, you got to actually rectify. The GUI is going to actually show you what exactly the workaround or the next step that you are supposed to follow in order to rectify it. And then you revalidate the failed checks or warning checks so that you can actually go for the next step. Now, as part of the fifth step in our wizard, it's kind of actually staging. Remember, we talked about actually taking the configuration data upgrade. What does it mean? SPAN is going to take the backup of your configuration DB, perform the DB migration tool, migration utility, so that you can actually upgrade it prepares the configuration data DB, which can be imported onto the latest nodes. That's what the staging means. So that was done as part of your prepare upgrade earlier step, fourth step itself, which was prepared on the SPAN. Now that SPAN, which prepared the data upgrade bundle, that gets copied to the rest of the nodes in that iteration. That's what we call it as staging. And now, then we can go ahead with upgrading the deployment. Now, this is where your SPAN, SMNT, PSN2 selected in the iteration one goes through the upgrade process, and the services are going to be disrupted if at all you're looking for a SPAN, SMNT, PSN2 perspective. But you still have iteration two nodes available in earlier deployment. which were actually serving your endpoint services, which were already taking care of your monitoring and troubleshooting, which was taking care of your PAN administration standpoint. So you can monitor the upgrade process through the PPAN in earlier deployment 3.2. So once after it gets completed, then you can actually start repeating this process for the second iteration of nodes. So as part of your second iteration nodes, I have selected PPAN, primary MNT, and a PSN1 so that you can actually go through the pre-checks and then the staging. The staging is basically, we are not actually copying the SPAN DB. We are trying to actually take the DB dump from the new PPAN, which was the old SPAN, got upgraded to the new PPAN in the 3.3. We're going to actually pull the data upgrade bundle from that node, and it's going to get copied to the rest of the nodes in the iteration 2 nodes. So once it gets copied as part of your staging, then we can actually go ahead for the upgrading the deployment. And while it is getting upgraded, you can monitor this upgrade progress from the new PPAN, which is 3.3. Because I've selected only 2 batches to upgrade my 6-node deployment to the 3.3, I'm completed the upgrade method now. Let's talk about in detail by demonstrating it. Now, this is my 3.2 P3. I'm logging into my ISE deployment. And let's verify what exactly version I'm talking about. So I do have a 3.2 P3. And let's verify the deployment as well. So I have 6 nodes available over here: PPAN, SPAN, primary MNT, SMNT, PSNs. And I'm going to do a health checks. Is it a mandatory to run the health checks? No, it's not. It's not a mandatory. The health check is a separate process altogether. It's just to validate how is your deployment functioning at this point of time, or at any point of time. Even though you are not upgrading your deployment, you can perform the health checks. How is your deployment functioning? So once after health checks are completed, you can go for an upgrade flow. This is to actually intimate you if there is any already problem. You don't have to even go through the upgrade process. So you can see that my okay, let me just so you can see that there is one failure over there, services or a process failure. The VS service is not up and running, but I don't care because I just enabled it for the testing purpose and it was not running, but there is no endpoint which is actually, but in practical, in a production environment, obviously you got to actually make sure why is it not running. If at all it is not running, you have to actually rectify the problem so that you can revalidate that failed check. So once after that, sorry, God. Once after you do that, you can start upgrading your deployment. Okay. I can go to the, okay, come on, sorry. So you can go for the upgrade. As I stated earlier, it's showing you the 2 processes, 3.2 P3 onwards. You're going to see full and split upgrade, but the split upgrade, the new split upgrade method is going to override the old split upgrade method. So the new split upgrade method is kind of a wizard, which was showing you step-by-step process. As part of your second step, you got to choose the nodes. I'm choosing SPAN, SMNT, PSN, 22, 24, 26 precisely. And I'm choosing the repository where I kept my upgrade bundle. And if you notice here, you can even choose the patch as well as part of your upgrade. What does it mean? In earlier old split upgrade method, you got to upgrade your entire deployment, then only you got to apply the patch. So one administrative task, and then after you got to actually apply the patch on top of it. This is 2 processes involved into it. But the new split upgrade process was giving you ability to upgrade at the same time applying the patch. So you're eliminating the 2 upgrade, 2 downtimes or 2 operations in one go. So you don't have to worry about, okay, once after upgrade, I do have to apply the patch. You can select the patch, and then it will automatically upgrade the system and apply the patch as well. So once after selecting the upgrade bundle, I'm going to go for a start preparation. The start preparation is to go through the checklist, a bunch of checklists that I was talking about. It's going to validate the repository, and it's going to download the upgrade bundle to each and every node, and it's going to validate all these checks. One of the checks which is going to take time is bundle download and the configuration data upgrade. So if you look at it, the PAN failover, it was enabled, and it is saying, hey, it is enabled, it's going to get automatically disabled. The configuration backup check, it was intimating you that, hey, we have found that the configuration backup was taken already, but it might not be, it is actually within the last week. If at all, it was not the recent one, you got to take the backup recent one is what we were trying to convey the message over here. It found that config backup check was completed successfully, and it was recent, and within last 1 week, you have taken the backup. But if you want to take the backup, a more recent one, you can go ahead and take the backup at this point of time. That's the kind of intimation we were trying to get. Now, you can still see that there is a VS service which is not up and running, but I'm going to go ahead and go for the next one, which is nothing but staging. Staging means what? Whatever the configuration data bundle that got prepared, a configuration data upgrade bundle that was prepared on the SPAN, it is going to get copied to the rest of the nodes in the iteration 1. So it's going to slowly, whatever generated in the earlier step, the prepare to upgrade, the configuration data upgrade bundle, it's going to get copied to the rest of the nodes. And once after copying the configuration data upgrade bundle onto all the nodes in the iteration 1 nodes that you have selected, it will let you to go to the next step. The next step is where you're trying to upgrade the entire deployment, your iteration 1 nodes. It's clearly showing you that it's going to take 4 hours, 29 minutes, and you have selected these nodes, and you can monitor where from your old PPAN itself while your the SPAN is getting upgraded is what it was trying to say. So you can go ahead and start upgrading it. That's when all your iteration 1 nodes, which is your SPAN, SMNT, and a PSN2, that gets upgraded to the latest version. Now the upgrade was triggered, and it's going to go through the upgrading your deployment. It's going to take 4 hours, 29 minutes. So obviously, I'm going to actually fast forward this. But once after the initiation, you can actually get to know where exactly the each and every node status is. You can monitor each and every node status from your existing PAN itself. So once after the upgrade was completed, you can come back and see whether they got completed successfully or not. Now you can actually go to the next step, which is going to show you, hey, you have selected these nodes and you have selected the prepared whatever the check that was performed on that iteration 1 nodes. You can download the report and then go for second iteration. As part of your second iteration, you got to actually choose the remaining nodes. Probably you can choose the nodes that you wanted to upgrade, but I'm choosing the rest of the nodes as part of my iteration 2. Then again, these iteration 2, 3 nodes, PPAN, primary MNT, PSN, those are going to go through again the same prepare to upgrade stage. So it's going to go through again the prepare to upgrade pre-checks, and it's going to validate all of it. And it's going to actually then go to the next step where you're going to perform the upgrade staging. So it's trying to actually now generate the configuration data. Okay. Once it is done, then we can actually move down to the next step, upgrade staging. I still have VA services problem there, but that's okay. I'm gonna actually move forward. But remember, you are not supposed to. You got to actually take care of taking care of all these things. Then you can actually start go for upgrade staging, where the generated upgrade DB dump, it's going to get copied to the iteration 2 nodes. That is nothing but 21, 23, 25. Once it got copied, that's when you can go to the next step, which is nothing but upgrading your iteration 2 nodes. Click next. And it was showing you clearly it's going to take around 3 hours 32 minutes, and you've selected so and so nodes. While this is upgrading, you're upgrading the existing PPAN node, so you can go to the SPAN and start monitoring the upgrade process. So while the upgrade is happening on your old PPAN, because the old PPAN itself is getting upgraded and you have a new PPAN available in the new upgrade. So I'm going to log into the new PPAN, which is nothing but a 3.3 one. So I'm going to come down to 3.3 deployment. Let's verify whether it is a 3.3 or not. Yes, it is indeed. And let's go to the administration upgrade page to understand what is the progress happening. So you remember this 21, 23, 25, they are going through the upgrade process. So you can clearly see at what stage these nodes are in. So the overall upgrade process also, it was notifying you that it still has 2 hours, 39 minutes. So once after everything gets upgraded, I'm going to just make it a little forward. You can log in at any point of time and see what is the status of each and every node. So I just came back again. Then I see that once after all of them got upgraded successfully, I see that all of them joined to the new deployment. So 22 became a primary PAN, while your 21 became the SPAN. So once after this, I can actually perform the health check, how my deployment was doing. So it is to validate, the health check is to validate how is your deployment doing. These are a bunch of health checks which are performed. Now, fortunately enough, I don't know how it got resolved, but somehow I don't have any services or process failures once after the upgrade. Look at that. So all the health checks are passed, so I'm good enough. That's how the upgrade process is. Now let's talk about, actually, as part of your upgrade journey, let's talk about the fourth step, latest patch. You remember this one? In the old split upgrade method, you got to actually upgrade your deployment and then apply the patch. But in the new split upgrade method, you can even choose the patch during the upgrade process itself. What is it going to do? It's going to actually upgrade your deployment and apply the patch, so which will eliminate another administrative task. So that is another advantage over old split upgrade. In a overall, if you look at it, if I compare old split upgrade versus new split upgrade method, the total time taken for the upgrade is more when you have more number of sequences in the old split upgrade method. The total time taken for the upgrade in the new split upgrade method is considerably less when compared with the old one, but it's going to increase as per number of iterations that you're going to perform. So just for an example, I was doing a demonstration, right? If I take a six nodes into 240 minutes, that becomes a 24 hours for me to do an older split upgrade. But the same six nodes were upgraded now in 7 hours in 2 iterations. URT, you got to actually perform the URT in earlier old split upgrade method. But now the URT was taken care as part of a new split upgrade, so you don't have to worry about it. There were no pre-checks available earlier. Now we have made them available as part of your new split upgrade. There was no staging concept, but now there is a staging concept. The recommended maximum number of nodes per iterations, that was considerably less in your old split upgrade, we were recommending you to have maximum of 4 nodes in any of the sequence. But whereas in the new split upgrade method, you can even actually upgrade 15 nodes per iterations. So even if you have a very large deployment, you can go for the batches. Each batch can even have 15 nodes. Post upgrade checks, basically, they are not available. Sorry, the post upgrade checks were not possible in the new split upgrade event. The patch installation was not available. It was a separate process in the old split upgrade, but it was made available as part of your new split upgrade process. That's the intent. Now, you might be asking me a question now. Hey, you showed me all the positive scenarios. What if any one of the node fails? So failures are probably, if at all we have any failures, how do I handle it? So let me talk from individual personal standpoint. If you ever encounter a span upgrade or a PPAN upgrade or any other node upgrade, the span upgrade especially, if at all it fails after reboot, then you got to actually do a fresh installation of that node, join to the deployment manually. But if it was failing before the reboot itself, that means it will go back to the previous state and it will join the old deployment. So you don't have to worry about it. But if a PPAN is getting failed during the upgrade process, you got to install fresh and join to the new deployment as an span. For remaining nodes, before reboot, it will automatically join to the old deployment, but the post reboot, if at all it gets failed, it comes up, it doesn't come up, then you got to actually do a fresh installation and join them to the deployment. So those are some of the failures and remedies possible. And performing the post-upgrade checks, right? They are not available in the old split upgrade and the new split upgrade. These are kind of bunch of checklists that you're supposed to follow, which are still in manual nature, but we have a health checks, right? These health checks, if you perform it, most of it is actually taken care. But apart from health checks, who's going to take care joining the node if at all it gets disconnected? Who's going to take care by joining the nodes into the Active Directory? Who's going to verify whether your licenses are intact, whether your smart licensing registration is intact? Those things you're supposed to actually go through one day by one. Hopefully, we're going to see the post-upgrade task being taken care later point of time too. Now, with that, we come down to a end of our session. These are some of the resources. If at all I know you guys are already familiar with all these resources available, but you go with ISE-resources. That's where we have installation and upgrades links available for each and every version. So you go to each and every version upgrade and you follow the upgrade journey. Whatever I was showing you now whatever I was showing you earlier, those are becoming evident now. Those are going to gel with our conversation. So with that, Rico, do we have any outstanding questions to answer?
Yeah, thank you, Pavan. I do see a question here from one of our attendees. Can I upgrade systems in more than 2 iterations, especially the PSNs?
Yes, you can. Basically, I told you, right? You can even actually go for 2 iterations, 3 iterations, 4 iterations, 6 iterations. Based on the number of nodes that you have, you can actually go with a different number of iterations. I have actually demonstrated taking the 6-node deployment, going with the 2 batches. But you can even go with the 4 batches, even 6 batches. If you have a 10-node deployment, I can even have more number of iterations possible. I can even actually do one PSN by another PSN too. But remember, you got to actually make sure you have the nodes available in the earlier deployment to take care of your endpoint services. That is inevitable.